It's Dan and Tyler here for Anime Degens episode 4. Episode 4 might sound a little different as Bass is out of town and wasn't able to join us this week. Regardless, the show must go on. In this week's podcast, we'll take our first look at Campfire Cooking in Another World, dive into this week's rundown, and recap some of our favorite Attack on Titan episodes from season 4. Tyler, man, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. Just straight up chilling. I also heard rumors that Hunter manga is permanently done. Shonen Jump magazine apparently put it in archives. And that's what I heard on Twitter. Have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, I heard the same thing, and I'm kind of bumming. Actually, a couple weeks ago, I think it was the first episode. I was really excited because it had started up again, and I was hoping they were going to be able to finish the story. But it just looks like his health isn't hanging on, man. So that's sad news. But who knows? Maybe down the line he'll find somebody to help him animate it, and they can get the Hunter x Hunter manga done.
We can only dream in hopes for the anime to continue.
Seriously, I mean, at this point, they wouldn't pick up. I don't think there's enough of an arc done yet.
Yeah, sir. Um, Also, don't you have a new show that you've seen?
Yeah, so I actually just saw this on Twitter and I watched the trailer on YouTube. It's this new show coming out next month called Mashal, Magic and Muscle. So it's like One Punch Man meets Black Clover meets Harry Potter. It's like the main character, Mash, basically he is somebody who can't use magic in like Harry Potter world. So he somehow gets accepted into this universe's Hogwarts, and he decides that he's just gonna dominate the competition with pure muscle, baby, like our boy freaking Saitama.
Wait. So the show's called Mashal, and the character's name is Mash, right?
Yeah,
So is this like a thing between Mash and Muggle?
I don't know, man. I was calling him Muggle Punch Man all week, so we'll see
Yeah,
how it goes.
I'm kind of excited for this, honestly. Now,
Definitely, dude. Yeah, it looks like a fun show. I mean, it looks like your standard like shonen tropes in it, so it should be a good time.
yeah, I'm ready for it, honestly.
Awesome. You want to get into our first look for this week?
Yeah, unfortunately.
So this week we decided to watch an isekai that sounded fun, sounded different. It's called Campfire Cooking in Another World. So basically, Tsuyoshi, I can't talk today, holy cow, along with 3 other heroes, is transported into a fantasy world to rescue a kingdom from a mysterious threat. However, it soon becomes clear that Tsuyoshi has been dragged into the summoning ritual by accident. Basically, this show is this like 27-year-old salary man just gets pulled from his life, right? And he ends
With
up in this circle with all these people, and they all have these badass powers. Like one can wield a holy sword, the 2 girls with him can use like crazy forms of magic, and then he gets the praise, and his power is online grocery.
online grocery, hell yeah, brother.
We'll get a little more into that, but he kind of realizes that he's not OP and he's not the hero type, so he kind of just asks like Kingdom, like, "Hey, man, can I just go live a normal life?" And that's what we get into.
And they agree like very fast as they see that he's pretty much useless, or they think he is. So
Awesome. And the first episode, he's walking around in a suit and tie in this fantasy world. He just looks super out of place. So he thinks to himself, he's like, "I got to get out of here, man. I got to get some normal looking clothes, get out of here, go to a new country before people realize that I am, somebody from another world." And what he does to do that is he hires this party of sea-rank adventurers to take him from one kingdom to another. And that's where things get a little wonky. Do you want to get into that, Tyler?
yeah, and before we start, I caught myself wondering how he actually got so much money to begin with, because he has to have money to pay for these adventurers and all this other stuff that he's doing. Well, apparently, it doesn't tell till later on that he received around 200,000 yen worth of hush money to stay quiet as when he left the party, the king's presence.
Yeah,
So
basically the
yeah.
king was like, "Hey, here's 20 gold coins. Good luck, man."
Yeah, I'm embarrassed by you. Just get out of here. Don't say nothing. But yeah, he they decide to leave. And he's not really sure why. And he learns that everybody's trying to leave as well. And it comes to find out that the starting country, which I'm not sure the name of, I don't even know if it says it or not, but they're trying to start wars with everyone for some odd reason. Um, do you know anything about that, Dan?
Yeah, so basically, it turns out that the king in charge of the first kingdom that they're in, whose name is also escaping me, basically wants to expand his rule. And because of
Okay.
that, they are closing down the border soon. They're taking all the young men to enlist them in the army, things like that. So Mukoda definitely made the right choice trying to get out of this place, you know?
And he didn't even know it, until later.
Yeah, but basically, he hires this group of heroes. There's Vincent, who's a swordsman, Werner from Ironwill, which is a badass name, who's kind of the head of the party, Rita, who's a scout, Rahman, who is a mage, Franca, who is a healer, and they get going on their journey. You know, they were nice enough to walk him over the border. Obviously, he paid him about 8 gold coins, I think it was.
Yeah, it was like an outrageous amount because everybody was wanting, to get out to hire adventurers like themselves. So
And basically, what he does is he offers to cook every meal for him too to get him get bribe him a little further to get him over the border. So the first thing we do, like we see, is them stop for lunch, and with his online grocery ability, which is basically just Amazon, you know, he orders stuff, he inserts his cash into a magic little portal, then all of a sudden a box just pops up next to him, which is really funny. And he cooks them these delicious looking sandwiches, and these guys don't even know what hit them because they've never had anything this good. They've never had modern ingredients. They've never had sauces. They've never had like real bread that isn't like hard as a rock. And it just blows these guys away. And basically, the entire first episode is just these guys getting excited for different meals.
I think that's like the
But
first two episodes,
that's the
maybe. I
first
don't
two
know.
episodes. Yeah, like
Yeah. I
it's
think
interesting. It's not
during
interesting.
yeah. And then like later on they keep advancing obviously and there's a little bit of I wouldn't even call it action scenes, just like little fight scenes where it's done already. It just shows them there and then it shows them being killed, I guess. Um but then a big wolf, it's called a finner. I'm not sure. It's just a huge wolf comes and smells Mukoda's food and wants to try some of it. So he cooks a bunch for this wolf, and he actually ends up making a contract with him, makes him his familiar as long as he feeds him 3 times a day, is what he says. So now they proceed along to the next country, and they get to the gates of the next country with this big like this wolf is humongous, bro. Um, what happens at the gate?
Yeah, I mean, when they get to the gate, this the other town is terrified, which is hilarious because I mean, Fenrir, who becomes named Fell with this contract,
Yeah, fell.
one of the most powerful beings in this fantasy world. Like he fights dragons for fun. Like he is goaded, right? And basically, this town is terrified of him because he is a fabled, you know, multi-thousand-year-old beast who has just destroyed towns, destroyed nations, and now he's just, you know, contracted up with this little dweeb because he can cook.
And it's actually so crazy because throughout this episode, I think Makoto keeps on saying that he wants to keep a low profile. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? How are you gonna keep a low profile with this huge wolf now?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have much of a choice to not make the contract. You know, I mean, if
Yeah,
he said
he did
no, he
not.
probably would have been eaten.
There's 100% chance that he could have been eaten. Um, so I mean, besides that, I mean, I think that's all we really got to. I think they got
Yeah,
past that a little bit.
yeah,
Uh,
he joined the Adventurers Guild and he
oh
joined
yeah,
the
yeah.
Merchants Guild. Basically, his plan is that he can use the Adventurers Guild to have them cut up all these beasts that Fell hunts, and then he can sell stuff through the Merchants Guild. And that's pretty much all we've gotten so far. Besides that, it's just been a lot of cooking and a lot of hunting scenes. There was one hunting montage that had me cracking up. There was a scene in episode 3 where Mukoda makes Fel like A5 Wagyu steaks. And they're the greatest thing, Fel has ever had in his life. But after the fact, he's like, man, I'm feeling good right now. So Mukoda goes to appraise him. He has an appraisal skill and sees that he has a 50% buff on all his stats from just eating a steak.
I would too, honestly. Eating 5 of them? Like, give me some of that.
Dude, Wagyu is good, man.
Um,
So after this, Fel just goes on like this like 5-minute long hunting montage. It just takes down all these like A tier and S tier beasts and just royally fucks him up. It's probably the most entertaining fights of the entire show so far. I mean, I've only seen 3 episodes, but he goes in, man. Lightning magic, claws, takes on like an orc general, like all these crazy beasts. And Mukoda's sleeping this whole time.
yeah. But when he says entertaining fights, he doesn't mean they're like actually entertaining. It's just like it's the best fights we've seen so far. They also get one shot though, but
Yeah, well, he is a legendary beast with a
yeah.
50% stat buff. I mean, the dude is basically the strongest creature in the world at that point. But I was more saying it was entertaining just because you could see how
Yeah.
much fun Fel was having.
Oh, he was having lots of fun, bro.
So
And
at the end of this whole thing, Mukoda just wakes up with like a pile of like 50 dead monsters next to him. And he's terrified.
and that's another thing. Like one of his skills, powers that he got is a storage box or something that he can just like put items into and they stay there and they don't ruin or nothing else. And I'm just like, this he puts all them animals into it. And I don't think it has a limit. I think it's unlimited.
Yeah, imagine like your Skyrim inventory you didn't get over encumbered. That's basically the item box he has. So he's got like 3
Like
giant snakes, 8 orcs, an orc general, like 3 of these giant rock birds, all these animals just inside of this box when he shows up back to the Adventurers Guild to have him. Basically, they have a guy there who can process the animals and get all the good items and all the meat and everything like that. And by the time he was done selling all of the stuff and keeping all the meat, he made like 200 gold in one night.
yeah, it's like his skills are very broken as far as money making goes. If he wanted to, he could just, go hide somewhere and chill, which I don't understand why he's not doing. But he wants to what does he say? Like he wants to like explore the world or something like that. So,
Yes. So basically, his plan is just to be a traveling merchant, get a little
yeah.
stall that he brings around and sell all these things that he gets from Feld hunting. And he actually found out that his online grocery power is incredibly broken economically. Like he buys salt and pepper for like, I don't know, 20 bronze coins or something like that, 20 silver coins. And he turns it around and flips it for 20 gold, which is like a 10,000% increase in value just from using his little online store power. So he's kind of got it made. Like it's honestly like low key such a broken ability that isn't good for anything besides making cash.
And well, speaking of that, like I got a question. Like, do we think Mikado could be an asset like to the starting kingdom or overall world in the future? And they say something about a mysterious threat, which we do not have no idea what it is. Uh, but do you actually think that he would be an asset
I mean,
with
yeah,
the
if you look at his ability to buy things that are not commonly found in that world, I mean, the dude goes on a steak sauce binge and buys like 17 different flavor steak sauces. Like you can't get that in an old fantasy world. So like his ability is really broken, and I think if it was abused, it could be a game changer for a kingdom. But that's exactly what he's trying to avoid, which is why he's trying to keep this low profile. You know?
And like another thing, all this food that he gets, which Dan mentioned earlier, most of it has like buffs to it. It buffs some kind of stats, depending on what it is. It depends on how much of a buff it gets. So imagine if you could like mass produce food for an army that has stat buffs added to it. That would be kind of OP,
I
honestly.
I didn't even think about that. Holy cow!
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you could just Wagyu steaks for days for an entire military, dude. You literally
Imagine,
just buffed your fighting power 1.5 times right there
especially if you
alone.
got somebody like Fell, as familiar. I mean, I'm assuming Fell would be with him and would fight for whatever side he's on. So it's kind of interesting. If
Yeah,
only there was like actual like plot or action happening, this would be kind of interesting.
yeah, it could be something to see where it goes, but I don't know, man. After I watched 3 episodes and I felt like it just didn't go anywhere. How about you?
Yeah, I'm the same. Like I said, the animation is great. The
It,
intro I thought was pretty good. Um,
yeah,
I
I
thought,
mean, the animation is Mappa, so I mean
yeah,
that's
that's what I'm
that's
saying.
that's always top tier stuff, you know?
And that's surprising to have a show like this be from Mappa, you know. Um, but I thought it had a lot of potential, but I don't think it capitalized on any of it. Honestly, so far, it could change in the future. I don't know. It's basically just the main character feeding different people and his familiar. Um,
Mountains of meat.
so yeah, basically,
Just
I will.
mountains of meat.
I will say that he kind of explains like I do like that he kind of explains what he's doing as he's cooking. So that's kind of a plus though. I guess kind of just gives out the recipes sorta. Um
Yeah, I
oh
mean, if you want to learn to cook at a convenience store level, this is your show.
yeah. So after seeing about 4 episodes like me and you have, whoa, what you gonna rate this?
Um, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 10, dude. I
Yeah.
really needed a little more out of it. I think it's something that I might come back to when season like 1 is done
See
and
what
see if it
happens.
gets any better. But at this time, man, it's not something I'm gonna keep watching.
Yeah, same goes for me. I'd probably give it like a high 3 after 4 episodes. If it actually showed some action in it, besides what we did see, what little we did see, uh, then maybe the other heroes fighting or something, I might have, be inclined to watch more. But right now, it's a hard pass for me. So
Yeah, I mean, like, I laughed at it a lot. Like, there were some funny parts, but at this time, I don't think I'm gonna continue putting myself through it. If I want to watch a cooking show, I'll go watch Food Wars or something on the Food Network. You know?
yeah, I understand completely. I think it's a pass for both of us then.
Yep.
Bass would probably he would probably keep it around, honestly.
Bass does love cooking. He does his
Yeah,
cooking
that's what
streams
I'm
on the
saying.
weekend. Like he might be into this, man. I don't know. He might be like, I'm gonna start cooking dishes from the show.
Oh yeah. Well, I think that's our thoughts on campfire cooking in another world. We want to get to the weekly rundown, Dan.
Let's get to the rundown. Let's do it.
Oh yeah. So on this week's weekly rundown, we'll have One Piece 1053, My Hero 134, and also Buddy Daddies episode 8. There will be spoilers for each show in this segment. If you haven't seen it already, now is your time to pause the podcast and watch it or skip ahead to our Attack on Titan segment. Uh you want to let the people what's up, Dan, for the next few weeks of the
Yeah, so like we mentioned last week, One Piece is actually going on a break for the next 2 weeks. So, in obviously, we're not going to have a One Piece episode, but thankfully, we are getting an hour-long episode of Attack on Titan this Friday, March 3rd. And I think that is going to be enough content to easily make up for a first look and our One Piece, review or episode review for that week. Like, I think we're going to really dive into that pretty heavy. AOT has been the show that it's probably one of the best shows the last 10 years. So I think we're going to dive into that pretty heavy. Hence why we're doing the recaps in a bit.
yeah.
But we are going to start with One Piece 1053. The episode is titled Sanji's Mutation, The Two Arms in Crisis. So Queen's unforeseen move stuns everyone on the performance floor, and then he goes on to utilize another special technique, which can break every bone in Sanji's body. On the verge of crisis, Sanji feels something strange again. So Tyler, do you want to give us a little recap of what actually happened in this episode?
Well, we start off. It starts off with Momo and Yamato. He's over here trying to make flame clouds again, and Yamato basically says that she tells him that there's a bunch of bombs, or like basically a bomb underneath the Onagashimas. So she has to leave to go take care of that while Momo keeps trying to make these flame clouds, which he's struggling very hard to do. Uh, would do you think that Yamato and Momo's gonna succeed in their mission?
Yeah, so it's kind of so what Yamato brings up is that basically there's a massive armory under the main floor of Onigashima, which is like just full of weaponry. And if the island does fall, say Kaido is beaten, his flame clouds stop, and the island does fall, it is a ticking time bomb waiting to like literally blow up the entire flower capital. This just brings like a whole different amount of urgency to Momo learning how to actually create flame clouds that aren't just for him to fly on and maintain the altitude of the island and bring it down slowly. So I both think they have a pretty hard job in front of them. I mean, Momo is,
Yeah.
as always, just a train wreck. So it'll be interesting to see if he can actually pull this off. But I mean, every time we've seen Momo put in a situation where he needs to get the job done, he eventually does. So I'm sure he'll figure it out.
Well, I think it helps a lot as well that Yamato literally tells him that, um, because Odin, sacrificed his life to save Wano back in the day. Now it's his turn to save Wano. Is he going to step up and do it? And I think that really hit home for him. And she says that she's Odin and that she believes in him. And so I think that he's gonna push past it, and he does later on, and starts making clouds. But will it be enough? We don't know yet.
He's
So
gonna he's gonna push past his limits.
yeah, but is hey Yamato Yami?
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
up with that?
Bass isn't here, so he can make Black Clover references.
Oh yeah, he
I
only
was,
cries a little bit this episode, so
yeah.
I wasn't.
He's just more worried than anything. He's worried that he's
Yeah.
not going to be able to pull it off. I mean, I can't blame him. That's his entire that's the capital city of his home country down there. So I can't really blame him for being terrified. But we'll see, man. We'll see if he pulls it off.
Yeah, another big thing that happened this week, which wasn't a lot of things that happened, but Cypher Poe gets a call from Rob Lucci. Remember Rob Lucci?
Yeah, I remember Rob
Yeah,
real well. He's got that dog in him, dude. The Jaguar fruit is on, or the cat fruit Jaguar type is
yeah,
awesome,
yeah,
man. And seeing him come back, he's going to have a much bigger role down the line now that he is in Cypher Pull, 0 instead of 9
yeah.
was he in originally? I can't
What
remember.
is was he like top dog of Cypher
Uh,
Poe right now?
He's up there. He's up there.
Yeah,
He's definitely working right for the world government. So,
yeah. But basically, he tells them that he's got orders from above, two of them. That if Kaido loses Wano, it's if Kaido loses, then Wano is to be placed under direct control of the government. We actually learned that they have sent ships to Wano they're sending ships to Wano as we speak right now, which is a big statement, honestly. So
yeah, I mean, they've been cut off from the world for so long. It'd be interesting to see how they would react to the Navy storming the shores, I guess.
yeah,
And I think that their comment on Nico Robin was just massive. I mean, it just really
hmm
goes to show how big of a role she plays in the finding of the One Piece, because she's literally the only person left who can poneglyphs. So, I mean, the world government is still trying to get her. Kaido's trying to get her. Everybody's after Nico Robin, and Luffy's really lucky to have her on the crew.
Luffy's got his hands full, honestly. So,
Yeah.
and the thing is like if Luffy and the Straw Hats do somehow, um, defeat Kaido in the future, they have to look forward to. Well, they don't know yet, but they are gonna have to look forward to meeting the Navy coming and the Cypher Pole attacking them as well to try to at least take Robin, no matter what, and to take over Wano. So
Yeah, definitely. And I know that the whole goal of this raid essentially is to open the the borders for Wano, but I don't think they wanted to go about it this way with the Navy coming in and essentially setting up like a military rule, you know? So it'd be interesting to see how Wano would actually react to that and the samurai and Momo if it does happen.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see if they have what it takes to, defend Wano after Kaido if, Kaido gets defeated. So, uh,
But yeah,
it's
one thing this episode really made me think about too is just how like oddballish the crew of the Luffy's crew is between Nico Robin, who can read poneglyphs. You got Cyborg Frankie, Zoro, who's potentially like some descendant from Wano, hence his crazy ass like movements we've been talking about and all the resemblances to one of the past Daimos. And we learn a lot more about Sanji in this episode too. So
yeah.
as this episode continues, Sanji is fighting Queen and basically getting his ass kicked, and through it, Sanji continues to realize that he's gaining more powers, like regenerative abilities. He can literally, in this episode, he gets his bones and organs crushed and he just starts hitting himself and putting his body back together. Like,
Yeah,
it's crazy to see,
that is
it's
crazy.
it's one of those things. But if you think back to Sanji, he is one of the crown princes of the Germa Double Six Empire, essentially, and he was genetically modified as a kid, but his genetic modifications just didn't work, or so we thought. So watching this, it's like, holy cow, Sanji is awakening these Germa Double Six powers, and he ends up terrified. I mean, there's a scene where he literally is just standing there like shocked, and Queen takes a sword and literally just tries to cut his head off, and the sword just shatters.
Yeah. It's honestly crazy because this is what Sanji don't want to happen. He says in the at the end of the episode, I don't want to become a monster because that's all he's tried not to do is not to become like his brothers and sisters.
Yeah, I mean, you go back, and if you remember during Whole Cake Island, you get a lot of Sanji's backstory, and his brothers were literally just like emotionless robots, killing machines. And Sanji doesn't have that going for him, and he's really worried that that's going to be what happens to him now that he's starting to awaken these powers. Do you think that's actually going to happen to Sanji as the story continues, or do you think he'll be able to overcome that and maintain his persona?
Well, I don't know what's gonna happen really, but I do know one thing. I know that I couldn't stand to see Sanji not try to hit on Robin and Nami all the time. And that's one thing that would disappear if he did become like his siblings. So I'm really hoping that Sanji learns how to cope with his newfound dormant powers from Germa 006. Um, I mean, I'm just hoping, man, because we got to keep Sanji. He's precious, man.
Yeah, maybe they can tone it down a little bit. There's some points when it's like, all right, dude, you shouldn't die of blood loss because you saw a beautiful mermaid, man. Come on. So
I
maybe
don't know,
maybe this will tone it down a little bit. That'd be nice.
but I mean, sure, Hoshi. Uh,
She bad. I mean, she's also giant. Got a tail, so I don't know how that works for him, but
I get
what
he'd figure it out, bro.
whatever he's into, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you feel like this episode was kind of a good jumping off point for this 2 week break, or do you think they could have potentially ended it at a better spot?
Well, I felt like nothing really too big happened. Uh, I think it kind of ended on a decent note because we did see a little bit about Sanji and what's going on with him. Uh, I think it could have been better. I'm just hoping that after the 2 week break that the pacing steps up, which is what we've been complaining about for the last few weeks, it feels like, because the pacing is so slow and nothing really happens. And once again, it's true, nothing really happened in this episode, to be honest. So
Yeah, One Piece is that show that like you don't notice it when you binge it. Like say you're catching up. Like I never noticed pacing issues when I was trying to watch it the first time because I could skip a lot of stuff. I could skip all the recaps and all that and blaze through it. But Now that you're watching it week to week, it's definitely a little more noticeable. But I thought it was a pretty good jumping off point. I mean, they left you in a nice cliffhanger with Sanji's last words being, "I don't want to become a monster," and then it's a
Yeah.
classic One Piece to be continued.
Yeah, that was I mean, we'll find out. Like I said, I really don't think that he will become a monster. He'll find his way out of it. He has
Yeah.
to for Luffy, for
Oh,
him.
definitely. If
So
not, Luffy will just beat the crap out of him until he's back to
yeah.
normal. Because that's what Luffy does. That's how he solves his problems.
As we seen back in with Usopp. So yeah.
Yeah, you want the ship? Come take it, bro.
Yeah. So what do we think? That it for One Piece this week?
Yeah, I thought it was a really good episode. You ready to jump into My Hero Academia 134?
Yes, sir. Uh
Perfect. So the name of this episode was The Lovely Lady Nagant. During Deku's fight with Lady Nagant, she tells him secrets about the Hero Society that further solidify his resolve to help those who need his help. Um, so basically, this fight continues on. The last episode is an absolute banger. Like my hero right now is just hitting its stride, in my opinion. You know, like I've said for the last 3 weeks, I think. Basically, Deku continues his fight on with Lady Nagant. There's a point where All Might is trying to drive to where Midoriya last was because his tracking device, phone, whatever you want to call it, was broken. And he gets stopped by some villains. And his resolve in this scene is really awesome because it flashes back to when All Might, Deku, and his mom, Deku's mom, were in their apartment. And All Might was like, "I'll do whatever it takes to protect your son," blah, 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 blah.
yeah, I think we
And it,
seen that specific flashback in a couple weeks ago as well. So pretty interesting.
yeah, it's all Might wants to do now is protect the latest user of All for One or One for All. I keep doing.
Yeah.
I think I've done that like 10 times as we
So
talk about this
confusing.
show. They're just so close in names, man. But basically All Might stands up to these villains who are trying to stop him, and it was a really awesome scene. You know, All Might is basically just a bag of bones at this point, and to still have the determination and character to do that, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I mean, the villains that are sent to stop him. I don't even think they knew that they was sent to stop All Might. They acted like they was surprised when All Might stepped out. So,
Oh yeah,
uh,
they were definitely like, "Holy shit, it's All Might!" But then they
they're
kind
like,
of look at
oh
him and they're
yeah,
like, "Oh, it's All Might."
he's nothing anymore. But I mean, he proves them wrong, like you said. So it was
Definitely.
interesting seeing that. So with that being said, you know, All Might standing up to the villains. So we move on to the fight against Lady Nagant. What's going on with that, Dan?
Yeah, so we kind of talked about this. I think it was 2 weeks ago. We were talking about how Deku's unlocked all his new quirks, and we were curious what the next one was gonna be. And let me tell you guys, we hit the nail on the head this one. We were talking about
Yeah,
how Deku needs like a speed and power buff, and his new quirk Fa Jin basically lets him build up kinetic energy in his body, say in a limb, and use that to create more power, more speed. And I mean, this is going to be the one that puts him over the top, I think. What about you?
yeah. I didn't know what to expect really, but this one right here, like he's been using Black Whip to move fast, but this new Fa Gen, like it's actually like a really cool speed buff, and he's actually faster than a bullet as we see now. And I think it's gonna if he can harness the ability to use multiple at the same time, like they was talking about earlier on in the show. And I think these powers used together is gonna make him someone to be feared by villains.
Yeah, definitely. We see it earlier in this episode. He tries to use One for All, Black Whip, and Smoke all in unison, and he just can't handle it. But I mean, in the 20 minutes of this episode, in this one fight, he learns how to handle multiple quirks just like that. He uses Fajin, Black Whip, One for All, and like I
Yeah,
Danger Sense all in unison. and he ends up taking down Lady Najin. And in her desperation, she actually fires a bullet at Chisaki. Overhaul, you guys remember that he's up on the roof. I mean, the dude is a broken shell of himself, but
Yeah.
she fires a bullet at him, knowing that Deku, being the hero that he is going to try and save Chisaki, and that seeing him die would probably give her an advantage.
And
But
I just want to point out that I called that last week. If y'all
oh,
remember, I called
definitely,
that.
definitely. But
I
so
knew it.
Deku uses all these quirks in unison, and he comes up with his new attack, all for one, foe 100%. So basically, this is him saying, like, this is me at a fake version of 100% by using the kinetic energy he builds up with Fajin in unison with 45% all for one. And the man is zooming, like, just like Tyler said, he's literally faster than a speeding bullet. And he can get to Chisaki, he can outrun a bullet and save Chisaki. This just literally, like, I don't know. I don't want to say gives her hope, but like Lady Najin seeing this just absolutely like blows her mind.
Yeah, she wasn't aware that he had multiple powers either, so it kind of caught her off guard as well. And then we get to he saves, like you said, he saves her, but he's using his brains to outsmart Lady Najin, and that's one of Deku's, main abilities. Honestly, is to use his brains to outsmart villains. So it
Definitely.
was fun to see him take advantage of.
Definitely. Do you think with this new one for all foe 100%, do you think Deku's at full power now, or do you think he's going to evolve past this point?
He's definitely gonna evolve past this because we still got one power that we haven't seen yet. So,
True.
but this this fake 100%, he can use that and not damage his body so much. So which is really exciting.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that, like, I mean, if you think about it, the max he can use of one for all right now is 45%. So imagine him combining full power 100% one for all with this quirk. Like, it is so broken.
Yeah, it is, and we see it in this episode. Honestly,
Yeah,
uh,
dude, just add another 65% to the OG one for all and see what happens. Oh my god.
it's kind of got me thinking like it's the next quirk that he's gonna receive, is that gonna like better fortify his body? Is it gonna be a quirk that fortifies his body to withstand a higher power? That would
I
be
don't know, man.
interesting. So
Definitely. Yeah, I think he's got to start doing 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups and running 10 kilometers every day to get that side to flow going on, you know?
he ain't got time, bro. He ain't got time.
He might lose all his hair while he's at it.
uh
So
so go ahead.
I was to say, what did you think about the effects of this fight on Lady Najin? Do you think that she is going to turn to the side of the heroes, or do you think she is going to go rot in a jail cell again?
Well, uh we see towards the end that she does help out the heroes, but uh, I think it's because that she believes in Deku's ways, because he has a way of changing people or whatever. But will she um, actually move to the side of the heroes? Um, I'm not so sure just yet. I don't know if she can be really trusted to move back to the side of the heroes, but Deku seems to think that she's worthy enough to be trusted.
Yeah,
So we'll
definitely.
see.
And I think the scene too with Hawks catching her, even though he can't fly because his wings haven't regenerated yet, and talking to her solidified that for me too, because he's like, hey, I'm just like you and I'm still here fighting for the side of good. Like, why aren't you? You know?
Yeah. I think he said I think she said something like why, and he said that he had a someone he looked up to basically, and it showed him like a flashback of him holding his little Endeavor toy. So that was a
Definitely.
neat throwback. So
Yeah, this show's been really good at tying past stories into, and like, you know, every character's development into the forefront of it over and over again. I think that is one of the things that like My Hero Academia just does such a good job on.
And we said all this stuff, but uh there we haven't really said who wins the fight yet. So want to get into
True.
that, Dan?
Yeah, so in the end, Deku does come out on top. Midoriya is number one. He
Yeah.
takes her down with this newfound ability. I mean, if you've seen the episode, you know how awesome this fight was. It was quick, but it was super super fun, and I
And
definitely
some
recommend if you haven't watched it yet, go do it.
and some might say that Deku surpasses limits again. I love this. I love this a lot. Uh, but yeah,
Awesome. Anything else you got for My Hero this week? I think it was a lot more action, so it wasn't a lot of substance, but I enjoyed that. That was awesome. We needed that.
yeah. Another thing, one more thing I got is that like during their fight, Deku's and Lady Najin's after Lady Najin tells her history, kind of like a um Deku kind of realizes that the world isn't black and white like he's always believed. It's more of like a gray, he says. What do you think that means for the future of like the way he does things, to sees the world now?
Yeah, I think he's been kind of getting to that conclusion over and over again with everything, watching, seeing how society is just kind of taking this crazy turn. But you're kind of seeing it now instead of acting under like the leadership of a hero. These guys are all kind of going rogue and just trying to do their best to take out all for one. So I think they're kind of in that gray realm right now.
Yeah, I'm like you said earlier. This arc is probably one of my favorite arcs to date. So we finally get to see um, all the not so happy, cheerful sides of My Hero Academia. So
Definitely. I'm curious to see if we're going to get an episode that focuses on the school again soon, or if we're just going all in on. I kind of hope it's the latter. I kind of hope we're going all in on this.
yeah, I guess we'll find out in the coming week. I think we got um probably like 4 or 5 more episodes, maybe. Is that
I
right? Something
think
like
we
that.
have more than
You
that.
think so?
Yeah, what episode in the season was this?
I thought this was like 18.
Okay, then we should have about 9 more episodes. They usually do like 26,
Oh,
27 episodes.
okay. So quite a bit. Okay.
Awesome. Well, I think it's time we jump into our third weekly rundown show, Buddy Daddies. What do you think?
Oh yeah. So this week, Buddy Daddy's episode 8. It's called "Nothing Seek, Nothing Find," which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. But one day Ray gets ready and leaves early. Kazuki and Miri bid him farewell before departing on their own missions. Ray was summoned to his father's house for some family business. It turns out. Uh, so what? What do you think about Ray finally getting called home?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of said it last week where I thought we'd be getting a big Ray episode, and sure enough, we got a banger Ray episode. Basically, Ray's father, who I don't know if they ever gave his name.
I don't think so
Basically,
either.
he is the leader of I'm spacing on their last name now.
Suwa family
Suwa family, yeah, which is
assassination business or something like that.
yeah. So the Suwa family is basically like the top pedigree family of assassins in the world. And what it does is basically Ray's father calls him back saying, "Hey, I want you to come home. It's time you learn how to run the family business."
Hmm.
Basically, it goes into the whole backstory between Ray and his father having a bit of a falling out, and Ray deciding that he needs to go out into the real world and try and find himself. And that's when he partners up with Kazuki, and this whole crazy story gets started.
And also, I will note that apparently that's the first time he's been home in 3 years. So
Yeah, yeah,
that's
it's been a while. I think him and Kazuki have been working together for a while now before
yeah.
Miri enters the picture.
And that's not all that his dad gives him while he's there. He also gives him a job. Apparently, someone amongst them has betrayed the family, an old comrade of Ray's, so to speak. So he tells him that he must eliminate the betrayer. So which is what we'll get into next.
Yeah, this really hurt for me, like emotionally watching this because
Hmm.
basically the person who betrayed the organization was Ray's weapons master, who taught him how to shoot a gun, taught him how to fight with a knife, taught him how to fight with weapons, and the whole reason that he betrayed quote unquote betrayed the organization was that he fell in love with a woman. That was it,
Yeah.
and was planning on leaving the country to be with her.
Hmm.
And that gets you thinking, like, has Ray betrayed the organization by, falling in love with Miri and becoming, a fatherly figure to her? And that just gets me really worried about where the story's going to go and, what's going to happen with the Ray, Kazuki, and Miri. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and like we learned like during this fight that his what'd you say, his weapons master, basically, is that what you
Yeah.
said?
Yep.
uh we learned that he he says to Ray several times that he's like a robot, and that he just follows orders, and he's the perfect assassin is what he says. So do you think that this affected Ray, to have his like weapon master, like his sensei kind of thing, telling him all this?
No, because I mean, when he did know him, Ray was really in hobo mode. It kind of goes into a flashback of when Kazuki and Ray first met, and like Ray is living literally in like the same apartment, but there's just trash everywhere.
It's a
Like he doesn't
mess.
take care of himself. He's just an emotionless machine who gets orders and goes and kills. And I think even before Miri came in, Kazuki had a pretty good, what's the word I'm looking for, like effect on him, where he helped him kind of come into himself and become more of a person than just a mindless killing machine.
Yeah, I think that Kazuki done a really good job before Miri came about. But I think Mary is actually pushing him either even further past that point, which we actually see after like Ray. I'm gonna say accidentally. He because he does. He accidentally kills this guy. Um, I don't think he really meant to. He probably would have anyways, but. Um After it's all said and done, he's sitting there thinking, um, about what all that was said, and I think that he realizes that he can change. He actually said in there that he has somebody to protect now too. So
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say, I think mid fight, he actually says that he has something to protect himself now. And
yeah,
I mean, this is just having a direct, like incredibly fast change of pace in Ray's character development. I mean, he's growing so much as a person and gaining some emotions and, becoming a father figure for Miri, which has been an awesome thing to watch. But it kind of gets you worried about what's going to happen because obviously it's going to get back to the boss somehow.
yeah, and another thing that I thought was really weird is I'm not sure what he is, the chaperone, the henchman. I'm not sure. The dude that drove Ray to this place and stuff like that. He's got a weird I guess fetish. Uh he collects the last words apparently, and at the end of it he asked Ray what he said, and Ray was like, I didn't hear him. And he was like, um, it would have been just as fine if I would have got your last words instead of his. It didn't matter to me as long as I got one. Ooh, that
Yeah,
that seemed kind of like weird and
yeah, the dude's a
kind of crazy.
scumbag, dude. The dude
Yeah,
is a scumbag. But no, Ray actually does hear his last words of
yeah.
his mentor, and I can't remember the exact wording, but it's like I'll be with you soon because Ray does tell him that they've already killed his lover, and if you want to be with her, this is the way to do it, pretty much.
Hmm. Which is kind of sad as well. But I mean, that's the way of their jobs, I guess.
Definitely. Did
So
you enjoy the fight scene overall? I thought it was pretty awesome. You don't see a lot of like classic hand to hand combat like this in the anime that I watch. Most of it's they've got some sort of power, whether it's Nen or Dragon Ball Z or Naruto or anything like that. So it's kind of cool just to see some classic hand to hand
yeah.
combat, guns blazing, all that kind of stuff.
And plus, we actually this is like the first time I think that we've actually seen Ray getting his ass handed to him. Like
Y-
for the whole fight, he's basically losing. So a stalemate or losing until the very end. So
Yeah, I mean they do say at one point Ray does say that he's never actually beaten him. So this is a big challenge for Ray.
and as I said, most time we see Ray come in guns blazing and just cleans up the job instantly. But he couldn't do this with his weapons master sensei, guy, um, which was kind of fun to see as well. But I also think that the conversations that they had in the fight was important for
Oh,
Ray to hear. So
yeah, definitely. So after the fight, the henchman, colleague, whatever we're gonna call him, chaperone, sorry,
yeah,
basically says like, "Come on, get back in the car. We're gonna go back to the house." And Ray declines. He says, I'm gonna sit here and walk this one out." And
yeah.
Ray gets a call from Kazuki, who just says like, "Hey, man, I need some time." Is what he tells Kazuki. But little does he know that Kazuki set up his phone for him. Ray's clueless when it comes to anything besides video games and killing. So
Which is crazy. I mean, if you're like a video game nerd or whatever, then surely you know how to operate a phone, bro. I
yeah,
mean,
but
you would think.
Kazuki's got that Find My iPhone app going, and sure enough, comes and picks him up. And when they're driving back, they're just talking, but Ray is just sitting there, one word answer, sorry, sorry, sorry. But he just looks at Kazuki and says, "Do you think we can change?" And that kind of hit home. I mean, Ray is in a big juncture in his life. Like, do you think that he can become a better person and find something to care for and stuff like that? So that moment for me was pretty meaningful too.
Yeah, and what do you like? I kind of actually think that he meant um that if they can get out of the business and become normal people, or that if they can't get out of the business, can they actually have a normal life? Uh, which is kind of I don't know. I don't know if either one of those are possible. So
Yeah, pretty tough to be an assassin and have a normal life, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I think there's going to be a lot of conflict coming up between Ray and the organization, Ray Kazuki and Miri in a sense between them and the
yeah,
organization. And basically, the episode ends with this henchman going to the bar that the owner, who basically the guy who gives them jobs, owns. And
Kiyu. I think his name's Kiyu.
Kiyu, okay,
Yeah, I think
gives
so.
basically this henchman gives Kiyu a job essentially, and it's a picture of Kazuki and Miri, which is just kind of laying the groundwork for this massive bombshell coming of what's going to happen. Do you think Kiyu is going to tell Ray and Kazuki that like the boss is looking at this, or do you think he's gonna do his job and respect his position with the organization?
Well, I mean, the henchman also says during that the organization trusts him completely. So um, it makes me think that if he doesn't do what he needs to do, that he will be dealt with by the organization. And honestly, he's already told them once that if Miri gets in the way of their jobs, and he would solve the issue basically. Um,
Definitely. Yeah, it was a really big cliffhanger. I'm excited to see where it goes for the rest of the season. Like I'm not sure how long the season's gonna be and where it's gonna get to because well, one, I don't know how long this manga is or anything, but I'm interested to see if it gets wrapped up in a season or if we get a season two.
Yeah, and also, that's like the big most important things of the episode is that scene. But my favorite moment of the episode is when they actually get home. That we actually find out that it's Ray's birthday, and he doesn't even remember it. And that's what they was working. That's what Kazuki and Miri was doing the whole day, was setting up all his favorite foods and decorating the apartment. That way, with the one goal, and it's to make Ray smile. You wanna what happens when Ray gets home?
Yeah, so when Ray gets home, Miri's just passed out on the couch,
Yeah,
and Kazuki wakes her up, and she's in a daze. It's like when you wake somebody up and they're half asleep, and she just starts singing "Happy Birthday" to Ray, and it's fucking adorable, dude. Like,
yeah.
it is fucking adorable, and you just see Ray crack this little smile. And for me, that really just went and showed that he does have something to protect, and that is going to be the focal point of his character development going forward. What do you think about that?
I think it's the first time we've ever seen him smile. So, he is changing a little bit, I think. And um I think that he doesn't know it yet, but he's gonna have some big decisions coming up, I would assume, based on the cliffhanger picture that we see. So
Oh, definitely. Well, awesome. That's kind of our look at this Buddy Daddies episode. If you guys are listening, you haven't started the show, like I know, like My Hero and One Piece are huge. I would definitely recommend giving this a watch. It's very wholesome, but it also has great character development, and the plot's pretty good too, in my opinion.
yeah. So you wanna move on to the big section of the day?
Yeah, so we're really excited about this. So, in anticipation of AOT coming back with episode 1 of part 17 of the final season, we're going to be taking a look at 4 of our favorite episodes from AOT season 4. Tyler picked 2 and I picked 2. We're going to give a little recap, kind of dive into them a little bit, not too much. Hoping that you guys have all seen this, because if you haven't, you're probably been living under a rock,
and
and you got to catch up on AOT.
And now's the time to mention that there's going to be heavy spoilers for season 4 Attack on Titan.
Nah,
So
these came out like a year and a half ago or
yeah,
17 years
y'all
ago,
should
whatever
already
at this
watched it.
point.
So what are y'all doing? Y'all got like a week. So
So we set them up in chronological order. Funny enough, Tyler grabbed the first 2 episodes and I grabbed the second 2 episodes. So we're gonna dive into them a little bit. You want to get us started with episode 67, Assassin's Bullet?
yeah. So um before Assassin's Bullet, I'm gonna give y'all a little rundown on what happened. So as we know, Aaron launched an attack on Marley, which forced Levi and the Survey Corps to join in on the attack. During that attack, Levi takes down Zeke, who is in Beast Titan form. Also, Aaron gains the Warhammer Titan abilities by eating Laura, the previous Warhammer Titan. We open up this episode by seeing Mikasa forcing Aaron to retreat back to the airship, which I'm going to call the chopper.
Get to the chopper.
Yeah, get to the chopper. Do you think this is a wise move for them to retreat at this time, Dan?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that was their goal. So basically, in this episode, the whole premise of this is Aaron goes to Marley to confront Zeke, and basically him and Zeke end up coming up with a plan to, basically bring Eldia back to its former glories. So what we think. So now that Levi's taken down the Beast Titan, it just makes sense for them to retreat at that time. But one
And
thing I
plus,
really,
I
oh,
think they're
go
just
for it.
getting overwhelmed too,
Y-
honestly.
Yeah, I mean, that's like 20 people against the entire military force of, the capital city. But like in this battle, man, they just take them down. Like between the Colossal Titan, Aaron, everyone, they like take down and kill like all the military leaders. Like they leave Marley's military in shambles.
Yeah, it was a great surprise attack, honestly.
But
So
getting into Assassin's Bullet, they're retreating. Basically, they get on the airship. Labov, who was one of the former commanders in the Garrison Legion, actually joins the scouts, and he decides to stay behind while everybody else gets on the ship to protect the rear. And he runs into everybody's least favorite character there is, Gabby. And
yeah,
Gabby actually shoots him and kills him.
Mhm.
Wit.
And
Oh, go for it.
that makes, and when he falls after she shoots him, she's able to actually get his EDM gear and get onto the chopper basically. So, uh
Yes. So in that scene, we see Gabby and Falco use Lobov's ODM gear to get up on the ship. And the first thing Gabby does is she just pulls out this rifle and shoots everybody's favorite potato girl straight in the chest. Poor
oh
Sasha,
no.
dude. Which it was like when I first saw it, that scene was absolutely tragic, man. Like Sasha was such a fun character.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely hard for me, and it wasn't as hard a second time watching because obviously we know what's gonna happen. But
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, we see her shoot, and then we see her try to shoot again, and we see also John trying to shoot back at her, and Falco actually saves her and John because she was on target again. She was gonna take his head off as well. So
Yeah, definitely. And after this, we see Jean basically takes Gabby and Falco to the front of the ship where Aaron is, and he delivers the news that Sasha was shot. And basically, Gabby overhears their conversation with Zeke about how this was all the plan, and that now that they have a Titan of royal blood and the founding Titan, they can do some damage. And Gabby and Falco hear this, which comes into big play down the line in the series. But after that, they come in, they let everybody know that Sasha died. And what'd you think of the reactions to her death?
well, you know, Aaron. I mean, obviously everyone else was sad, but it kind of shocked me, especially the first time watching it, because Aaron starts laughing like a madman, kind of, and then you can see it kind of turning into like an angry grimace kind of deal going on. Um, so and and then I think John, I think blames him. Is that correct? Or is it
Yeah.
Connie that blames him?
I think it's Connie. I think it was Connie who
Yeah.
blames him. Like this, or it's one of them. It's this is your
Yeah.
fault. Like, why did you do this? Like, why did we have to come save you?
Yeah,
And
if
that's kind of what
you
Levi is saying too.
yeah.
It's like,
It was,
you're
I guess it was kinda hard for Aaron, honestly, hearing his, friends that he grew up with, tell him that, so
yeah, definitely. I think the focal point of this episode is, Sasha's death and the effect that it has on everybody going forward. So
but, you know, uh, this wouldn't be a Sasha death or a Sasha scene if, we didn't talk about food, and, what was her last words, Dan?
meat,
Meat. That's
absolutely
gonna be my
tragic,
last
dude.
words, bro. Meat.
Meat on my deathbed, meat.
Give me meat. Yeah. So I really like this episode. It's pretty iconic because like we said, Sasha dies in it. Unfortunately, we see the start of like Gabby and Falco and why Marleyans or the people of Marley hate the people of Paradis Island. They do a really good job explaining that as well. Do you think anything else was shown in this episode that made
No,
it
I
iconic?
mean, yeah, I think those are the two big points. I mean, obviously, we see a lot of interactions between the characters based on the previous relationships we have, which is awesome to see, like Levi and Aaron, Levi and Zeke, all of that. But I think you want to move on to our next episode. We watch Savagery, which I actually picked out, not Tyler. My bad.
Yeah. So after like between episode 67 and 73, uh, there the Levi takes Zeke to a forest full of giant trees, and Gabby, Falco, and Aaron become imprisoned. Protests start happening everywhere because they think Aaron was wrongfully imprisoned as well, which sort of helps the Jaegerists break Aaron out of his cell. And just to note, the goal of Aaron and the Jaegerists is to get Aaron and Zeke to meet up. Also, at a different place, a restaurant, Nicolo, who who actually loves Sasha, tries to kill Gabby and Falco. And just in the nick of time, the Survey Corps led by Hanji shows up to save them. But shortly after, Aaron and the Jaegers swing by and take over the restaurant, capturing Hanj and the Survey Corps, which leads us to where we are now. Episode 73, Savagery. Um, Dan, let's start it off by talking about Aaron barging in on the roundtable meeting that Mikasa and Armin were having with Gabby. Aaron brings some heat to this conversation right away. Basically, sits there and tells Armin his will has been hijacked by Berto, the previous wielder of the Colossal Titan, which is why Armin still visits the Frozen Annie all the time. He then proceeds to tell Mikasa that she doesn't actually care about him and that she is wired this way due to her Ackerman blood. He even goes as far as to tell Mikasa that he hates her because she isn't free. This royally pisses off Armin, who attacks Aaron on side, and Aaron beats the shit out of him and leaves before having him sent to be imprisoned.
Yeah, so this
Uh,
was like a really big scene in my opinion because
yeah,
these are our three main characters who have been friends for so long, man. Like, I mean,
childhood friends.
childhood friends from the start. I mean, it's been I want to say 4 years since then in the timeline, or 3 or 4 years. I can't remember if Aaron has 3 years left or 4 years left on his Titan
I'm not sure
hold.
either.
But it's like just seeing him talk down to Armin and Mikasa like this just absolutely devastates them. And I mean, even to the point where Armin, who is not confrontational at all, just goes full berserk and just takes out his freaking, just punches Aaron.
Yeah,
And then Aaron proceeds just to beat the crap out of him, like, or beat the shit out of him, like a full on.
yeah, and the thing is like Aaron says all these mean things to Mikasa, and we all know that Mikasa kind of loves Aaron. So, um, I mean, I don't blame Armin for taking up for Mikasa at that point. So,
Definitely. Yeah, and then after that whole scene, it goes on to showing Shadis training, who's the head of the recruit corps or whatever. I don't remember what they're called, the recruits, and he's
yeah, the
training some of
recruits.
the recruits, and the whole conversation gets hijacked by Floch and the Jaegerist, and basically they convince these recruits to join their side, saying that Aaron is the man who should lead the Eldied Empire, which is kind of the vibe that everybody's given in the town, anyways. But
Yeah, because he does what it takes to after especially after the attack on Marley, they really respect him apparently. So
definitely. But he then commands these kids just to beat the shit out of Shadis, which I did not like, man. Shadis is that guy. He's such a dog the whole show, and it dives into his backstory a little bit down the line. But that scene just hurt to watch, man.
yeah, and then we move on to like the Levi and Zeke confrontation over here. We learn a few things about what's going on. We learned that the wand is being passed around to all the high-ranking officials and also some of the lower-ranking ones, I believe, as well. It actually has Zeke's spinal fluid in it. So,
Yeah, I mean that conversation happens after um, Zeke uses his Titan ability to turn all of Levi's comrades into Titans, and Levi just proceeds to fuck them all up, which is an awesome scene to watch. I mean, if you like Titan combat, and you like Levi, this is a great scene for you to watch. But I just can't imagine how hard it would be to actually kill your comrades like that. Like, these are the people you've been with for so long. They're your friends, basically family at this point, and he just had to slaughter them all because they got turned into Titans. And at this time, there's no way to get them back from that.
yeah, and Zeke, he was obviously shocked by it as well because he didn't think Levi had it in him. But we all know Levi. He's gonna do. He hates Zeke so much that he killed all his comrades to keep him from escaping. So
Definitely. You want me to? I mean, after Zeke blows him up, I guess that's really just the end of the episode, right?
yeah, so they just they end the episode with a thunder spear Zeke and stuck in Zeke's side, I think it is, and hooked to his neck, I believe. It's
Yeah.
like if you do anything too drastic, you'll blow up. And so, what does Zeke do? He blows
Boom.
him up. So, I think that's about it for that episode. Want to move on to Judgment, which is number 70. No, Ooh,
That's 76.
yeah, 76. Okay, I got you. Let's move on to that. Uh, so what happens after the last episode and before this one? Um, we see that Zeke obviously blows Levi and himself up. A nearby Titan finds Zeke and puts him in their belly. Reading that out loud reminds me of Austin Powers, bro. Get in my belly. You know, remember that? Yeah.
Fat bastard, dude. The Titan didn't look like fat bastard though. I think it was
No,
a little scrawny, little like 8 foot guy.
but as I was watching, that's all I could think about. Um, so also the car Titan shows up and tells Aaron that she wants to join him, but it turns out to be a surprise attack. Her and the Jaw Titan attempt to defeat Aaron with the help of the approaching Marleyan army. The war has finally started. Marlia versus Paradise and Aaron. So tell us what happens next, Dan.
Yeah, so this was an episode I love, man. Like this is what we're looking for. We want giant Titan battles, and we get the start of one in this. We get the start of Aaron versus Reiner. Basically, this rivalry's been brewing since season 2 when they got betrayed. Um, you know, this is just like I said, one of my favorite Titan fights in this episode. So the episode starts with Floch finding the Titan that has swallowed Zeke and a dead Levi, dead in quotations, of course. Levi lying next to the riverbank, seeing the armored. Oh, I missed something. Sorry. Basically, there's this whole confrontation there. Zeke somehow crawls out of this Titan after it absorbs a bunch of steam, which somehow heals his entire body. Magic,
Yeah,
at this point. I mean, this
wild.
is something with Ymir molding his body in sand. Like, it just makes no sense. But that's kind of where the story goes with the power of the Eldians. But after we see this whole scene, Hanj and Zeke just flop into the water into a roaring river to get away. And Hanj,
Hanj and Levi.
oh, sorry, Levi, not
Yeah,
Zeke. My
Levi.
bad.
No,
My
you're
bad.
good.
My bad. My bad. My bad.
We don't want to confuse them now.
A lot of names going on right now.
A lot of names.
But so after that scene, it changes over to this massive fight that I was talking about. We see the armored John Cart Titan team up against Aaron, and they get Aaron on the ropes here. Basically, the Jaw and armored Titan are holding him at bay, and the Cart Titan team, with that massive anti-Titan rifle on its back, blows half his brain out, and he loses motor functions. But the one
Yeah,
thing he can still do is use the power of the Warhammer Titan to just create massive spikes to keep his body protected.
and honestly, I thought that Aaron was doing a really good job against the armored and Jaw Titan. I think he was shitting on him, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I mean, Aaron,
And
the attack Titan is just jacked.
yeah, and the Cart Titan with the new anti-tank cannons, um, which is a big thing for Marley. They actually stopped him from, I think, killing one or both of the armored and Jaw Titans. So
Yeah, definitely. And then, so this episode actually ends with, I'm gonna butcher his name,
we're,
Onkyampon.
we're gonna call him Onya. Onya.
Onyankopon or whatever it is, the Eldian, or sorry, the Marleyan, I don't want to say slave because he's not a slave, but a soldier who came over in one of the earlier ships, running down to the prison to let out the Survey Corps because Aaron needs their help. And there's this whole confrontation for that. But it kind of ends with just Aaron on the ropes here, and you don't know what's going to happen. And I'm kind of annoyed because I would have picked the next episode instead of this one because we get more Titan fights. And that's what we're here for, baby.
Yes, sir. So you want to move on to that episode?
We didn't actually talk about that episode. We didn't have that one on here.
Oh, 77. Okay.
Yeah, we didn't talk about 77.
Gotcha.
But going back to 76, just a lot happens. You see Zeke healed up, which means, we're potentially going to see Zeke and Aaron come together. and be able to use the power of the founding Titan. Hans runs away with Levi, so Levi's going to come back, and I mean that is the Titan Hunter.
Yeah,
So
Levi is the main man.
so down the line somewhere, we're probably going to see Levi back in at least partially fighting form, coming in
Yeah.
and trying to cut Aaron's head off, knowing him.
Another thing that I want to hit on is during Anya releasing the Survey Corps. Um, Armin goes hard on defending Eren. Uh, he basically says that he's trying to trick Yelena and Zeke, and tries to convince them that Eren doesn't want to euthanize everyone, or all the Eldians. Um, then I think Armin also asked Mikasa what she wants to do, and if she wanted to help Eren, and she says that she wants to say yes, but doesn't know if that's her will or her blood's will. So obviously, Eren has gotten to her a little bit. So it's kind
Yeah,
of interesting
definitely.
seeing this.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this whole story is just like the progression of their relationship is a big part of it, and it's no spoilers, but it continues to be a big part of it.
Yeah. But I
But
was kind of
awesome.
surprised that Armin stood up for Eren, especially after the last episode that we discussed. So
Yeah, definitely. I think deep down, I think he thinks Aaron has a plan, and he doesn't want to use all of Eldritch. It
yeah.
makes sense. It's not who Aaron is, so
Alrighty. So I guess we can move on to the last episode that we got for Attack on Titan recap. It's called episode 80, from you 2000 years ago. So what happens between the last episode and this episode? To give you an idea, uh the Survey Corps finally joined the battle, and Zeke shows up as well in Beast Titan form. Both join Eren's side. As a result of Zeke getting hit in the nape from an anti-Titan cannon, he screams, which results in everyone who drank the infected wine to turn into Titans. A little later on, Falco eats Porco, the Jaw Titan, and then we have some big events to lead us to this episode. Eren gets shot in human form by Gabby with an anti-Titan sniper rifle, which results in him being decapitated. But Zeke somehow manages to catch Eren's head, which makes them both go to the alternate dimension called the past. Eren meets Ymir and then tries to control her, and finds out that he can't due to not having royal blood. Zeke has been chained up this whole time, but now he takes the chains off and puts them on Eren instead, then tries to convince Eren to go along with his plan. And the biggest thing that we learn is that Eren can go back in the past and talk to and manipulate people into doing what he wants them to do. A lot has happened between these couple episodes, but now let's talk about what really happens in episode 80 from you 2000 years ago. Dan, what we got going on over here?
yeah. So the reason I picked this episode is that it has a really nice mix of history and plot building in it, which it's crucial for the finale and the culmination of season 4 in this entire series. Basically, the episode begins with Aaron and Zeke in Grisha's memories. Grisha is Aaron's father. In the last episode, we get a recap of Aaron manipulating his father's will, which leads him to attack the royal family and take the founding Titan. After this, Grisha has a total meltdown, asking Aaron, like, why did you make me do this? Why won't you show me memories involving the attack on Shiganshima? And he just really wants to know if his wife Carla is okay. He then notices Zeke watching just in disbelief, and Grisha just confronts him, apologizing for being a terrible father, telling him that he loves him. This actually just like breaks Zeke and shatters him to the core. Tyler, how'd you feel about that scene, man?
Um, like we all, it was kind of like a big shock to see Aaron be able to manipulate the past like he did, and I felt that it was kind of bad to uh do his dad like that, I guess you can say, making him kill innocent people and stuff, and then uh telling his dad that obviously Carla dies, gets eaten by a titan actually. Uh, but I think like I mean, the Grisha just wants to be more of a father figure to Zeke as well. Uh, it's just a messed up scene all around, honestly. What uh what we got what we got next after this? What'd you think about it all?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, man, that scene it just hurts to see Zeke feel like that. Um,
Yeah.
Even though he wants to basically take down Eldia, but you got to feel for the guy. I mean, I can't imagine having your father, who you thought betrayed you, tell you that he loves you. That would just absolutely break me. Um,
Yeah.
but after this scene, basically, Aaron pulls Zeke out of Grisha's memories, and they're having a conversation at the coordinate pointer paths. Zeke, in a panic, commands Ymir to take away the ability for Eldians to reproduce, essentially ending the Titan path line and saving the world from Titans. She begins moving to the coordinate point to make this happen. Through Aaron's determination, he breaks both his thumbs, escapes the shackles he's been placed in, and chases Ymir down. He embraces her and tells her that this is all her decision to make, whether to end the Eldian bloodline or to let Aaron handle the situation and save the Eldian Empire. This leads to a whole flashback of her life as a slave under the original King Fritz, where you just kind of get some history. Basically, it shows her she gets blamed for letting a pig out and is
Yeah.
hunted to kill her, and it takes her down into a tree where she somehow comes in contact with, I guess, the original Titan spine. They don't really explain it, but she
Yeah,
comes in
I just called
contact.
it like a mysterious shiny monster because
Well,
it
it
doesn't
looks
really
it looks
say,
like a
you know?
spine. It has like a
Yeah.
long spine to it, and you'll see it later in the episode. But basically, that comes in contact with her and gives her the power of a Titan. And King Fritz just uses her to destroy nations left and right, which is why everybody is so afraid of the Eldian Empire. After that, King Fritz basically says that you're going to have my children, and we are going to continue this to rule the world. In the end, she dies from getting a spear thrown through her chest. I'm not sure if it's because of that or if it was like her 7 years were up kind of thing. Like, we don't really
Uh,
know, because most Titan users can survive getting hacked in half. So like she shouldn't die from that.
yeah, I don't know. I think they was just trying to hit home the point of that she's always trying to help others no matter what. So even though this man is like used her and abused her all this time, I mean, she still thinks that she has to save him from getting killed, which goes to show you who Ymir actually is. So
Definitely. And at the end of the flashback, basically he chops up her body and feeds it to his children to make sure the Titan powers are transferred, hopefully. And that's when they learn that eating the spine can make that happen. So it's all in the spinal fluid, which makes sense because that monster looks like a giant spine. But yeah, were there any other points of the flashback that really stuck out to you, or was it just more Ymir as a whole, and the type of person she was?
I think it just made us see who Ymir actually was. I I really didn't like that he made the kids eat her, all of her, or whatever. That's crazy. But I mean, he was a king or whatever you want to call him, and he did see them as slaves. So, uh,
Definitely.
you know. But another fun fact is that the three daughters that she has, their names was Maria, Rose, and Cena. So that's the walls.
Yeah.
If y'all
No, it
don't
was
know.
definitely an interesting thing. But yeah, after this, basically, Ymir makes her decision, and we see the original Titan spine from that flashback that fused with Ymir connect Aaron's decapitated head back to his body. There's a massive flash of lightning, and the founding Titan has been awakened at its full power. Aaron comes out of this thing looking menacing, man. He is a giant serpent, psycho, giant spine monster thing. The walls of Paradis start falling, and hundreds of colossal titans begin their march to destroy the world. Aaron uses the power of the founding titan to communicate with the Eldians, let them know what's going on, that he plans on trampling the entire world to protect Paradise, leaving only Eldians alive. Yeah, this is an awesome episode. It really just gives a recap of the entire series in whole. kind of bring some of that history in because it goes from survival to a really big world building story in season 4, which I liked. But basically,
Yeah.
after this, we see the remaining scouts try and determine the best course of action to stop Aaron, save the world. And I've read the manga, guys. Let me tell you, this is a great ending. We're in for a treat with these next 2 long episodes. So
Yeah. And now we can say the rumbling officially begins.
yes,
So
sir.
well, is that all we got, Dan?
Yeah. I guess the only other thing I'd like to say too is fun fact. This episode is called "From You 2,000 Years Ago," and the first episode of Attack on Titan is actually called "To You 2,000 Years From Now."
Yeah.
So they tied it in really well at the end there.
I'm pretty excited. Next week, I believe we're gonna have a really good time with the first episode of the last few parts. So
Oh, definitely, dude. Yeah, I'm excited.
hopefully they don't butcher this. So
Nah, they won't. They won't. They won't let that happen. That's why it's taking so long.
that's what we're gonna say, anyways. Well, everyone, thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Anime Degens podcast. Make sure to drop us a follow on your go-to podcast platform. If you'd like to support the podcast, leave us a review. It's the best way to help us out. And tell your friends also to stay up to date with the Degens. Make sure to click our link tree in the bio to follow us on Twitter, TikTok, and join our Discord, which is the best place to communicate with us. Again, we appreciate you hanging out with us. And as always, stay degenerate.